All right, welcome back to another Wright Stew podcast. I am Paul Stewart.
I am Brian Wright. It is Monday, and getting ready to get after it. Have a good day. Little podcast before we get rolling. It's always good to do that. And some good sports. Hey, Shadeur got drafted. I'm sure we did talk about that. I think
there's a little more to the story, Brian. I want to dive into this.
Yeah.
Did you see the prank call?
Yes.
Have you read about who actually was behind the prank call?
The GM of the Falcons' son?
The defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulrich.
Okay.
His son, Jax Ulrich, was the young man who called Shadeur and said, "Hey, you're about to get drafted by the Saints." He pretended to be Mickey Loomis, the Saints owner, or whoever it is, and said, "Hey, Shadeur, you're about to get drafted, but you're going to have to wait a little longer."
I'm pretty sure they did it to Cooper DeJean or whatever his name is.
Well, so it came out that a few other players during
it's happened before. Not ideal. Not a whole lot of class to that. I'm not a fan of it.
That was certainly the most high profile of all the ones that have happened in the past. And so they said that he got the number. So like, how did his number leak? How did it get out? And they said the son saw that his dad had left his iPad on a table or somewhere in his house, left it open, and saw the number, wrote it down, and then held on to it. And I guess what am I going to do with this number? And it's I don't know. And they all have apologized, and the son Jax said it was stupid, it was childish. I can't imagine one of the biggest days of my life and all the hard work, and then I did something silly and kind of made it stupid for you, so I apologize for that.
There's not a whole lot you can be. Not a whole lot you can do. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Have you seen there's another prank? I think it was Texas A&M, where somehow some kids got the phone number to the bullpen, and they called the bullpen and said, like, "Hey, get right up."
I haven't seen that. That felt more funny. There was not like somebody's hopes and dreams, whatever you think of Shadeur, is on the line. That's
a guy just making a few throws, and then somebody looks down and is like, "What are you doing?" Like that.
Right. I like that one.
That one's pretty funny, yeah. And prank calls don't happen. Like that used to be a thing. Like for me growing up, like I wasn't a prank caller. Like I didn't do that kind of thing. But it was like a legitimate thing. Like some kids would do. Like you had a sleepover. You're just sitting around. Hey, let's just call some people. Let's goof on them. Let's make. And then caller ID star 69 came around. Remember, you can call.
I got a story on this.
You got a prank call, Brian?
Well, not one that I'm necessarily proud of. I remember standing night at a buddy's house, and I don't know how this started, dude. And we started calling people like super late at night and trying to sell them AT&T long distance service. It was so stupid. And what threw us off, one time somebody was like, "Yeah, we're interested."
Oh my gosh.
And then it was like, what do you do with that? And so, that was so stupid. What a life now.
So were you middle school, high school? How old were you?
Yeah, middle school. Yeah, like 7th, 8th grade. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about the time. And there was actually, there was some tapes that would come. Remember the Jerky Boys?
Yes.
And that was their whole shtick. They would just prank call people. They would record it. And they would essentially have kind of like mixtapes. And that was their...
I think the funniest one I've seen recently, I'm sure you've seen like Ron, isn't it Ron Mercer?
Ron Mercer, the basketball player?
No, it was, this guy will call like the sheriff's department or call like random places and be like, say something outrageous. Like, hey, your guy was down there and he was fixing my wife's tire, and while he's fixing that tire, he showed her his ding ding. And the shop is freaking out like, "No, I'm sorry." Then before you get anything out, Ron will be like, "I'm gonna come down there and whoop your ass," and then it would go back and forth. Again, stupid. Again, 7th grade humor. Which
I've seen a couple on
RD Mercer. I think.
Okay, I saw one on TikTok recently where it was one guy called two different Chinese restaurants at the same time, and he put the phones together, and they're both like, "This Chinese restaurant? Yes, this is Chinese." And they just kind of they were so confused. But what do you want? No, what do you want? Like they just kept going.
Oh yeah,
It was
yeah.
pretty good. I do have one that was a little scarier. Um, so this was 2000. I remember because I was in Canada, 2003. So this was like more of a kind of like a fishing attack, like a really early kind of fishing. Somebody called my grandparents' house and they said, "Hey, this is Paul. I'm in jail. I need $5,000. And I think they said I'm in jail in Canada. I can't remember what the whole story was. And they had my grandpa on the line for, like, my grandpa thought it was me that was in jail, like, or somebody like trying to help get me out, and I needed 5 grand. And so I was legitimately like I remember because I was in Canada during the time when this was happening. I was in Ottawa, and so my he was about to go get some money out of, like, legitimately out of the bank. He calls my parents and he's like, "What the hell is Paul in jail for?" And my parents are like, "Oh, like, we just talked to him. He's just sitting in his hotel, like, he's in Canada." And they're like, and my grandpa was like, so they gave my grandpa my number, and he calls like, "What's going on? What are you doing? Call." I'm like, "Grandpa, what are you talking about, man? Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what." And then he finally kind of settled down and realized what had happened. But man, that you see those stories too, and those are terrible, man. When people get
Yeah,
screwed out
yeah,
of
yeah.
money.
Especially older people, and again, just trying to help. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So
Unbelievable.
kind of silly, kind of funny, whatever it is. But so a little blemish on a little blemish on a really big blemish of a kind of a weekend for Shadeur. But either way, another blemish, Brian. We praised and sung the praises and lauded Eugenio Suarez just yesterday for hitting 4 home runs in a single game, becoming the 19th player to do it. And then, Brian, tell the people what happened next.
I mean, I sent you a little Instagram feed, and it looks like not unexpected, no different than like football. When you do have a really good game, baseball's the same way. You do something that hasn't been done by 20 people at this point, they're going to drug test you. And he tested positive for PEDs, and he is done for 80 games, and clearly PEDs were working for him.
Yeah.
Probably hits 1 home run, not a big deal. Probably if he goes 4 for 4. I don't know how long it takes for that stuff to get out of your system, but yeah, unfortunately, he has changed his life forever. Because he's not really a well-established guy, and so that's going to stick around with you forever. That's the reality that sticks with you.
Yeah, yeah. So he's been around a while. He's been around since 2014 in the big leagues.
Okay, I didn't realize he'd been around that long.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he came with the Tigers, spent a good time. He was with the Reds, Brian. That's probably why I didn't realize who he was.
Well,
He was
that is
with the
true, and I
Reds.
know you, the baseball guy, you would know him. So yeah, he's already put his seniors in. So he's
Yeah,
like, screw it. Let's
he
just see if
did.
I can juice and hit 4 home
I just pulled
runs.
up his stats though. He did. So he has led the big leagues in one category 3 different times, Brian. Do you know what that category is?
Hit by pitches.
Strikeouts.
Oh, that's surprising.
So in 2019, he led the big leagues with 189. In 2022, 196. And again in 2023, 214 strikeouts.
He must do something well. He's been up there a long time. He's got to have 10 years of service unless he's floated up and down.
Career 248 average, 286 home runs. That's doing
Yeah.
something. So,
Well, at
four,
least 4 of them were on the juice.
yeah, that we know of. So,
And here's the reality, dude. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it's tempting because your body feels good. You don't get the soreness. I mean, we talked about you don't feel good if the big leagues, I promise you, if the big leagues played like 25 games like they do at a high school season,
oh,
you'd
it's
have a
crazy.
lot of guys hit, 400 with 10 home runs because
Yeah,
it would feel good every day. It's just you don't feel good when you're doing it every day.
yeah,
And I think
you
the
do.
juice, that is the benefit of the juice, but has definitely changed this season.
Yeah, like you said, changed his life, and then so now everything he does, I was like, well, is it for
Oh,
you?
yeah, yeah.
So Brian, some good ball going on yesterday, and then so I got in, had some chores kind of to do, and so turned on the end of the Rangers at Giants game. So a couple of first place teams there. Rangers having a pretty good start. Giants playing really well. Well, not two first place, but Giants are good starts to the season. 2-2 heading into the bottom of the ninth. So the Giants are hitting. Heliot Ramos comes up to lead off the inning. Luke Jackson comes in for the Rangers, who's their closer. He's been throwing well this year. Swing and bunt. Hits the ball like 45 feet. Jackson's right hand. It actually runs over, bare hands, it spins, makes a pretty athletic play, but the throw's up the line. So throws it away. San Francisco's got a lot of foul territory over there. So Ramos actually kind of cruised in the second thinking, hey, I'm good here. Nobody had picked up the ball yet. Matt Williams is their third base coach. He's waving them over. So not great base running to start with, right? They eventually get the ball. He chugs in the third. They make a throw it away. Pitcher was backing up the play, but he was too far. Had a bad angle. Got by him. Ramos chugs it home. Slides headfirst into home as the throw's getting there. Safe. Little league home run to win a big league ball game.
It happens.
The best part though was the crowd at every error just like amped up, and you could see in the background people just going bananas. If you have like 30 seconds, it's worth watching that clip just to watch the crowd and their reaction, and them just getting amped up by each and every base that he. And it reminded me of like, and we've seen hundreds of those little league home runs, and the crowd, like the parents, everybody's just like run, run, like everybody is so fired up because usually it's a kid who hasn't run around the bases very much and is just running around like a crazy person. So that was wild, man. Do you remember any plays like that in college or high
Oh, for
school?
sure, for sure.
But do you remember one where it was like that impactful, where like at the end of the game you were just wanted to punch a wall?
Oh, well, I can't specifically, but I know it happened. I mean,
Yeah,
I may have been a part of it, defensively causing it. I definitely remember, it's kind of a good reminder, though. I mean, that it happens. It happens at the
yeah,
big league level. It's going to happen at lower levels. I feel like the more I watch like MLB baseball, you see they make mistakes. We talked about it
yeah.
the other day. They make a lot of mistakes. I don't remember anything specifically, but yeah, I'm sure I was part of it on both sides. I mean, those errors happen, and then you compound them, right? And then you hear the circus music come on, and you're like, dude, just hold the ball. You want to get somebody to the middle, just call time, like you're in 6
Like
seconds.
get into the circle time. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's a great way to end a game or end a play right there. Just get it to the pitcher, call time.
yeah, yeah. Time.
Just shut him down. Yeah, that's so Brian, it's Monday. You know what that means.
Athlete, you should know, Paulie. Athlete, you should know.
Athlete, you should know. So Brian, today I'm zigging a little bit.
Okay.
Zigging and I'm zagging, okay? So today we're gonna talk about a player and some players, but we're gonna talk more about a concept
Okay.
than we are specifically like locking on a player. So in homage to the NFL draft that I know you love, Brian, we're going to talk about a player named Mr. Irrelevant. So Brian, you know what Mr. Irrelevant is, right?
Last pick of the last round.
Last pick of the last round of the NFL draft. So Mr. Irrelevant. So every year the NFL draft goes on, and now I think it was pick 257. But the way it started, so back in 1976, a former NFL receiver named Paul Salata came up with this idea. So he thought the last pick deserved, a little love, right? So he actually created Irrelevant Week in Newport Beach, California, to celebrate this final draftee of the draft. So they even actually give out a parody trophy. So opposite of the Heisman, they give out the Lozman Trophy, right? And so the player, it's kind of fun. The player on top is actually fumbling the ball and not doing a cool pose. So it's silly and fun, but people have really latched onto it. So a couple a couple of guys who have been named Mr. Irrelevant or drafted as Mr. Irrelevant recently have done pretty well. Can you think of a
I can
couple?
name one. Obviously, Brock Purdy is
Yeah.
the
So
most famous one.
yeah, so Brock Purdy, the 262nd pick of the final 2022 draft, earned a starting job a little bit by injury, but it took the Niners to the NFC Championship game, signed a big deal, doing pretty well. Then there's also Ryan Suckup from the 2009 draft. He won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers with
Kicker?
the Tom Brady
Yeah.
led team. And then back in 1980, Tyrone McGriff started a game as a rookie for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So sometimes these guys pan out, right? And some it's by need, sometimes it's by just getting some work done. Yeah. But Mr. Relevant, kind of the ultimate underdog. It's a little tongue in cheek, but it's kind of about grit. So this year's Mr. Irrelevant, Brian, a guy named Kobe Minor, a defensive back from drafted out of Memphis, but spent time at Texas Tech and Indiana. But his best year came this year. Had 38 solo tackles, 6 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, 2 sacks, and 7 tackles for a loss as a Memphis Tiger. But Brian, in his interview about it, I love what he said. He was like, "Hey, people have been doubting me my whole life. I wasn't highly recruited. Let's get to work." And kind of like he epitomized what Mr. Irrelevant should be. Let's just go get to work. Let's get things done. So that is our athlete you should know this week, Kobe Minor, and a chorus of others.
Yeah, what a interesting and well done, because usually we talk about these, and that one you came up, you kind of put it together on your own on that one. And what's funny is a lot of times you're almost better off to go undrafted, and then you kind of get to pick your situation, that may be better for you. And the Mr. Irrelevant is kind of, there's been a lot of them obviously, and there's 4 that were kind of relevant over basically 45 years, and so it's pretty.
And they said it was pretty funny. So in research, some of they said like the Mr. Relevance have been on like the Tonight Show and have had invites to like Laker games and like the Playboy Mansion and like all kinds of wild stuff. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, so maybe it is better than being undrafted. Obviously, we saw Shiloh go to the Bucks as an undrafted guy. I feel like football is one of those sports because there's so much violence, so many injuries. There's been, Hall of Famers. There's been guys that have had a great deal of success undrafted. Brock Purdy, out of the ones you have named, would have to be the most relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Irrelevant ever,
Oh, absolutely. And Brian, so I was thinking about this today, and I wanted to ask you. So football is king. Like we clearly just saw that, but the 200,000 plus people watching in person, we're talking everything that goes on. There hasn't been a rival or anything close. I mean, the USFL back in the early '80s, but why is football not? Why are we not having year-round football? Why?
Well, they have started it, right? They've started it with, and they're trying to push for more games. They essentially take from the first week of August until basically through now, right when the draft, they kind of take all the way. They got like 2 months of maybe not really being relevant. You could kind of say May, June, July, but it starts getting relevant at the end of July. And there is kind of the minor leagues, which is getting ready to start playing. And I don't know. Football has always felt like, and it's funny how traditions start, and it's really hard to break those. That's the reason I thought like cricket. There's some other sports. I did see last night, where they're legitimately getting ready to start a legitimate softball league, female softball league, and it's going to kind of. It feels like it's being sponsored by Major League Baseball. It's going to be similar to what they do with the WNBA.
Okay, yeah.
And kind of maybe be supported a little bit by MLB to start with. But, I think people's appetites and people's traditions and kind of what you get used to are really hard to change. You almost got to change a culture, and not that, if the Buffalo Bills were playing year round, people can get into that. But if it's them changing like their their junior or their minor league or the summer football to a totally different team. I think that hurts the brand.
Yeah.
Clearly, what Banana Baseball has done as far as trying to build a brand, and it's kind of gimmicky and stuff, but it's changing kind of algorithms a little bit of what people are
Yeah.
used to doing is it's a challenge, and I think it's a fair question, and I think even owners have kind of asked that because they're like, man, the appetite is so strong, we should be able to make money 12 months a year instead of 9 months or whatever they do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
there seems like there should be a way somebody's making money off that, which we've determined is kind of the way things roll, right? So it's just like the WWE tried to go with the XFL for a little bit there, and uh, people have tried. It just has. I mean, the NFL is king, man. It hasn't caught
it
on.
is, it is. It's done a
And
good job
college
of the
football
brand.
certainly, yeah,
I think they could have. I think they really could have done something with this summer football league if they would have let them use the NFL names
yeah.
and could have branded them around that a bit stronger. But I do think people like need a break from it. It is a
Well,
sport. It is a commitment.
do you remember the World Football League? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Ever? That
yeah,
was because we had here they called them the Raleigh Durham Skyhawks.
yeah.
And I remember we went to a game because they played at Carter Finley. We went to a game, and it was like I was probably 11, 12. Like I was just happy to be outside at a football game. Didn't really, and conceptually, I was like, this isn't the NFL. This is something less. I knew that, but I didn't. But as a kid, I was like, oh, I'm watching football. This is fun. Um, arena football felt like it was a much bigger deal, 15, 20 years ago than it is now.
Well, yeah, and I went to some of those games when they were in Raleigh too back in the day, and very entertaining. I think anytime you tie yourself to a known, it's like a lesser brand. It's just something. It doesn't become a priority in your life.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that was the Kurt. Remember Kurt
interesting concept.
Warner? Kurt Warner came from the Arena League, and he said it helped him just make quick decisions because you had to make quick decisions. And I don't know why the NFL, and I guess legitimately the minor league is the SEC and the Big Ten at this point. It's not.
Very much so, and they've kind of set that up. I would say, quick story on Kurt Warner. He was saying he was playing in the Arena League, and he was making no money. I think he was still kind of working a regular job.
Yeah.
And the owner, I think, was going to pay him either $50 or $100 for every touchdown he threw. And he said that completely motivated him to make sure. And obviously, you throw a ton of touchdowns, but I
Yeah,
think
it's like
there's
10
a
a
story
game.
behind that. But clearly, even the great Kurt Warner was somewhat motivated by the almighty dollar, and that's
Yeah. That's crazy, but it is interesting that one hasn't just a minor league. But I guess you look at the NBA too. Like nobody watches. NBA degenerates watch the G League or whatever it is, and
yeah. I think America at least wants to know, no matter what it is, they want to know they're watching the best that's available, and I think there's something too. Like again, the summer football league will start up soon. They do have ties to teams somewhat, but it's not as strong. And again, I think it's pretty decent. I almost refuse to watch it. I mean, I give so much time to the NFL in the fall and
yeah.
really sports, football specifically. I just feel like I've got to almost like wean myself off for a few months, watch some baseball, do some stuff with the family, pretend like I'm not a single guy that's 19. And so I can't just completely devote myself to summer football too.
Yeah. So you did mention undrafted free agents. So I had a friend, family friend, uh, became an undrafted free agent a couple years ago and went to the Steelers and went to camp. So Tyler Snead out of East
Oh
Carolina,
yeah.
kind of an undersized receiver. And he's played in Canada for a couple years. And again, like the CFL, I think it's really popular up there, but nobody watches CFL. I used to watch it, I guess. I would watch it as a kid.
Yeah, like the championship game or
Well,
maybe
it
the
was
final
it was
four they would
on
broadcast.
so Arena and CFL, they were on ESPN, but it was before ESPN had all of the MLB and NFL and NBA and NHL, whatever it is, right? They've had contracts with all the major sports leagues at this point, but ESPN used to throw some kind of little off-brand, little kind of some wacky stuff on their network, and with limited options. Well, I guess I'm watching Canadian League football today. Yeah, there's nothing else on.
That's 100% true. As we were talking here, I
Yeah.
just happened to look up, like, could you name? I've got a handful. I've got the top 30 undrafted free agents of all time. That whatever the rank is, and it'd be interesting to see.
Well, Kurt
There's
Warner's
like
got to be on
real
there.
guys. I mean, there's some really good players from like Nate Newton back in the day, the
Okay.
famous Cowboys offensive
Yeah.
lineman. Jason Peters, same thing, great offensive lineman. Adam Vinatieri,
Okay. I feel like
Priest
that's kind
Hall.
of a kicker's route. I don't think many kickers get drafted.
No, it's kind of changed over the years where they have, but like James Harrison, your Pittsburgh boy.
Yeah, yeah.
There's been a lot
Is
of.
Kurt Warner,
I didn't
is
even
Kurt
get
Warner
close
on
to
that
one.
list?
Yes, yeah, I hadn't got close to one. I mean, there's so many good ones. Tony Romo, famously,
Oh,
undrafted. Let's see, he may be. I hadn't got to one yet. He's probably number one considering he's all. Warren Moon. Hey, we haven't spoke about this. Warren Moon allowed for his number one to come unretired, and it's going to let Cam wear
oh,
Cam
Cam
Ward
Warner,
wear it.
really?
Yeah, which is pretty awesome.
Well, Warner Moon
Um,
did play in the USFL as well, right? So
but his number is retired through
yeah,
the Oilers.
to the Oilers and Titans now. Yeah.
And so, yeah, Kurt Warner was number one on that list.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's been a lot of really good players. Honestly, more really, and probably there's just more of them, but more undrafted really good players opposed to Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah, relevant. Yeah, I feel like you can become a practice guy, practice squad kind of guy, and then you move on. So, man, exciting stuff. Brian, what do the Pack have coming up? They've been on a roll, man. A sweep of the Clemson Tigers. Who do they got coming up?
Sweep of the Clemson Tigers. Then they still have, I know they have the old mighty Seahawks on Tuesday. I'm actually going to go to that game. Yeah, UNCW Seahawks. And then they still got their series with the Tar Heels. And I believe they still got one more series after that. And I can't remember whether it's the Hurricanes or the.
So they're heading to Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford. So I think they got like 3 more ACC series.
So they got UNCW on Tuesday. They play at Miami this coming weekend.
Okay.
And then UNCW again the following Tuesday. Then they play at Carolina, and then they wrap up against Stanford.
Yeah, so the season starts later than it did when I came through. And so it's awesome. These kids get 3 or 4 weeks of kind of baseball without school. The reason the schedule was the way it is, I know they had some exams. It's a 2-week deal where you have exams over a 2-week period, and so they kind of try to work it that way. But yeah, it's nothing better than college baseball and no school. I mean, it's easy balance, easy balance.
And then ACC championship is at the Durham Bulls Athletic Park here locally.
Yeah, we'll maybe do a little live feed there.
May 20th to May 25th. Yeah, we'll see if they'll let us in the building. Hey, we're media, really. We are.
Yeah, for sure.
We got this. So, hey, well, thank you all for listening today. We appreciate it. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, and go tell a friend about the Wright Stew podcast. Maybe you're in the office. Maybe you're one of those unicorns who actually go into an office these days, or you see people. Tell them about us. Pop it on your whatever you're listening to in the office, and when somebody walks by and says, "Who is that?" You say, "That's the Wright Stew podcast." You let them know. All right, I'm done.
All right. Out, go Pack, go Tigers.